What is going on, guys? Smooth Racing here, back with a brand new video, and today we have our review of the first ever Formula E race from Beijing, China. And what a cracker it was, thanks to a last lap dramatic crash and just on the edge of my seat basically for the whole race. It was a really thrilling race, I think. Maybe, not living up to some of the expectations for some people, but, I just took it for what it was. And, I realised it wasn't going to be, as good as a Formula 1 race or a GP2 race. I'm not quite sure what people were really expecting. There were a few bad points as well, which I'll go through them. And, definitely a lot of improvements, I think, that need to go on to Formula E. But I think it was a good foundation start, and I think that last lap drama has really grabbed the attention of millions of viewers. And I think that's really, as sad as, the crash is, and sad as Prost's awful move was, I think it will be drawing a lot of fans into the sport, and I think it will definitely be very memorable, and people will tune in. I think in November is actually the next race, which is kind of disappointing because, November the 22nd, so we have to wait about 2 months and 2 weeks for the next race, which is actually really annoying. But anyway, let's go through the race result then. Well, Lucas di Grassi won then on the final lap. He passed Prost and Heildfeild, who you didn't know already, did a massive crash on the last lap. I'll probably be doing a separate video to give my thoughts on that, but I will be giving a short, sort of statement about it later on in the video. Then Frank Montgomery, probably my driver of the day, in second place. Then Danny Lapt in third, Sam Bird in fourth, a brilliant Formula E debut from him. Then it's Charles Beek in fifth, Kadun Shandok, who I voted for the fan boost, in sixth, Jerome D'Ambrosio in seventh, Oliver Servia, I think it's pronounced, in eighth, Nelson Piquet Jr., who made some brilliant overtakes but then was also overtaken quite a few times, in ninth. And then Sarrazin managed to get up to 10th place, which I thought was very impressive for him to nick a last point, with Al-Jaswari in 11th. And we got Prost and Heildfeild, who came together, but they still got classified as finishers in 12th and 13th. Catherine Legge, Surati and Tung were all quite disappointing for me. They all got involved in incidents, I think, and also had drive-through. I think, Legge and Suratu did have drive-through penalties for, I think, pit stop infringements and going over the white line coming out of the pits. Takuma Sato was also out, and also Sebastian Buemi, and also Bruno Senna and Jarno Trulli were also out on the first lap. So basically the race started then, and Chandok, I think, stalled on the grid on the formation lap, but he managed to catch up, and maybe just conserving a bit of energy there. And we got away then, and Prost got away fine. Basically the top six remained pretty much the same. We saw Bruno Senna crashing out. Jarno Trulli, I think, never really got going. So I think, a lot of people were disappointed about Senna crashing. He's probably the most popular driver in Formula E at the moment. It's such a disappointing race for him. And Trulli, the whole Trulli GP team just really had a race to forget. And also adding on then, pole position, of course, as I mentioned, went to Nico Prost. He got 3 points in for the championship, which arguably could be removed. I think we could see definitely that being taken away from him, maybe if he disqualified from the weekend's results. I'll come on to that in a bit. So Prost gets 3 points then, and very good to see that Amla Naguri, driver to Takuma Sato, picking up 2 points for the fastest lap. That's really brilliant to see, I think, from the Japanese driver. Very popular in kind of a funny way, a bit like Kartakai, and you kind of drop his name in as like an insult to other people. You're as slow as Takuma Sato, but he's proving that he does have the pace to do well in Formula E after he picked up 2 points for the Amla Naguri team. So their banter on Twitter was also really good, so props to them. So the overall race then, well, I really liked the start and the first few laps. We had some great battles. Nelson Piquet Jr. and who else was it? Oh yeah, Montgomery was really coming through the field, and that was really good. So I was really liking the whole first half of the race until we got to the pit stops, which, to be honest, were absolutely awful. It was a mess. They were driving into marquees at really, really slow speeds, probably about 30 miles per hour. The stops were, not very well covered on, the ITV. Whoever controls the camera angles. They weren't really that well explained, so no one really knew what was going on apart from them changing cars. When they all came out of the pits in a totally random order, so drivers like Abt and di Grassi were right behind Prost coming into the first pits. We know they were right behind them, came into the pits and then came out, further down the field, I think in third and fifth. So that was quite disappointing for the Audi drivers, but of course it would turn out that that would actually be a good thing for them. Later on in the race then, well, it was pretty much emerging. The field remaining kind of static. We had a few good moves with Piquet Jr., Servia, and that general midfield battle I actually really liked. And Sam Bird, I think Al-Jaswari got overtaken quite a few times. But anyway, then on to the last lap, we had Prost and Heildfeild in the last few laps. Heildfeild was closing in every lap. Then it was looking like Prost had it all sewn up on the final lap. He had a pretty good gap, and then he obviously locked up, or didn't have a very good exit out of the penultimate corner. Heildfeild did. He was right in a slipstream. They were going wheel to wheel. Then Heildfeild just edged ahead as Prost swerved into him. So I don't know what he was doing. I hope he lost control of the car, because if he just did that, generally, which is looking very likely it was, it's not very good. People are calling for him to be banned for a race. I've had so many people saying, he could have been killed. But it could be, really bad for, Edams to see that, and Nico Prost. But just getting live news for this review. But Sam Bird has been promoted to third place. I'm not sure what quite has gone on with Daniel Abt, but Degrassi is still standing up there. And I'm not sure what's happening with Daniel Abt. This is just a live bit of feed, but hopefully we'll get some news, and I'll probably put it into the comment section below. But obviously they must have had some kind of problem. Sorry, Abt has been dropped to 10th then, so that does mean that everyone I mentioned has moved a position. So just to recap, that means that Sam Bird's in 3rd, Peak in 4th, Chandok in 5th, D'Ambrosio in 6th, Servia in 7th, Nelson Piquet Jr. in 8th, and Sarrazin is now in 9th, with Daniel Abt nicking the last point in 10th, so that's very disappointing for him. But anyway, let's move on then with this review, just a bit of live news there for you. But yeah, basically between Prost and Heildfeild, I think it was, definitely Prost's fault. Maybe, he should get a race ban. Maybe I'll make a different, another video explaining my thoughts on it. It was really, it's definitely Prost's fault. A few people suggested that it's Heildfeld's fault for dive bombing, but if you look back and, I look back at it, multiple times now. I've seen it probably about 10 times, and it just looks worse and worse for Prost every time. And I definitely expect a grid drop for the next race, and possibly a race ban, and maybe even the shame of Edams having to drop Nico Prost for someone else, because I think that'd be very popular from the fans for people to do that. But now you look at the constructors and that, and it's been really bad for Edams. They're of course now last in the constructors with 0 points, along with Trulli GP and anyone else. I can't remember who didn't score. But yeah, a really bad race then for Edams in the end, which was looking out to be really good. Of course, it wasn't that good at the start for them. With BME dropping, but BME basically just had the race from hell, wing failure, and all sorts of bad luck for him. I think he got a drive-through penalty, and then he just finally gave up and gave in. But it was certainly very dramatic, and I can't wait for the next race, because it's going to be really good, I think. I did really enjoy the race. As I mentioned, though, the pit stops were just awful. So I think, for me, they should scrap the pit stops and do 2 races. It'd be a lot better, and we wouldn't have those awful, awful pit stops. But let me know down in the comments then 2 things. Was it Heildfeild's or Prost's fault, and should Prost or Heildfeild get a race or quali ban for the next race? What should be the punishment for either of them, depending on whose fault you think it was, or was it a racing incident? Let me know down in the comment section below, and also let me know what did you think of the race and who was your driver of the day. For me, it's got to be probably either Lucas Degrassi, who actually did a really good race as well, or probably Frank Montgomery for making the most moves. So I'll go for Frank Montgomery then as the best driver of the day. And race rating, I'll probably give it a 7 out of 10. Just that last lap drama was just amazing. It's probably the most dramatic and last lap drama I've seen probably in quite a long time. I'm just trying to think back to what the last lap drama I've seen is, and that's probably the biggest one. We've seen big crashes before. I suppose you could relate it to Massa and Perez, but remember, this was for the lead of the first ever Formula E race, a first race in this new series. But anyway, we head to Malaysia then for round 2 on the 22nd of November. Be sure to check out my channel then. I'll be posting a full preview and review. And sorry, my voice is going. I've got a really bad cold at the moment, but I hope you really enjoyed the Formula E race. Be sure to let me know all your thoughts and opinions on everything I've discussed in today's video. But I've been racing, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.